Thanks for coming, everyone. Hope you all enjoyed watching Post Oak Boulevard of Texas Legacy. One of the folks that you saw in the film interviewed is Bob Ethington, who's in one of your Zoom boxes over there. Not only was he interviewed in the film, he actually had was really a major player in making the film. He's with the Uptown Houston district, and actually he was hired in 2010 really with the goal of researching the history of Uptown and archiving the story. And then that turned into the film we all saw, Post Oak Boulevard of Texas Legacy. And after that, he became the director of research and economic development for Uptown. And happy to have him here today to kind of talk more about the film, the past, the present, the future of Uptown Houston, Post Oak Boulevard, the Galleria.
And is that Justin? Thanks, I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm looking forward to seeing the film again, actually. And I was telling Justin that it could have been, we could have made this into a mini series. There was so much information here, but we were happy to be able to do what we did. Texas Foundation for the Arts picked up the narrative, and we worked with them to create this PBS documentary special. So it was a special project. I felt very blessed, actually, to be able to meet with some of those great individuals and families and communities that helped make this place what it is today. So,
how long did it take to it came out in 2016. I think how long from start to finish? Right. Did the whole process take?
Well, from start to finish, if you want to think about the beginning of the research was 2 years, and I was doing that full time. So it was a lot of research and spending a lot of time in the dusty archives of Harris County, reading just all kinds of stuff, and interviewing people, being able to actually sit down with individuals like Gerald Hines, Giorgio Borlini, other individuals that you saw on there. Raymond Brockstein didn't make the cut, but very important part of the history of the Uptown, and I was able to spend time with him, enjoyed that. So 4 years, I guess, would be about how long it was from beginning to end. It's about 2 years to do the research, about 2 years for the production. And then it came out. We had a great time when it came out. I don't know if you know the story, but what we decided to do was we took the big conference area in the Williams Tower, and we redid it to look like an old-fashioned theater. And we brought in old popcorn machines and lined the halls to get to this area so that it would smell like popcorn. And we had individuals from a public relations firm. They had some young ladies that were working for them as interns at the time, and they dressed up like the old, I don't even know what they were called, but they were old, not a car hop, but the individuals in movie theaters that would come around, and they'd have the tray that they carried that had gum and candy and whatnot on it. And so we really decked this thing out to look like an old-fashioned theater, and everybody was there. It was amazing. Gerald Hines and Mary Catherine Farrington Miller, and I hate to start naming names because I'll leave important people out, but there were so many people that came to this thing for the premiere event. And then afterwards, of course, it was released and reached a point where it became important enough that they even used it one time for one of their fundraising events. If you've ever seen those, where they're showing you something and then they stop and they say, hey, at this level, you'll get this free Post Oak Boulevard thing. And what was fun about that was that the highest level was you would get a personal tour of the area by me and by another individual who is a historian. He works for the Texas Historical Society. And so we actually took these highest donors out on their own personal tour and show them historical important areas and how it connected to the story of Uptown.
Was there anything like, and anyone can feel free to, you know, jump in with questions as well, but as you were doing your research, was there anything that like it really surprised you about, you know, what you discovered and then kind of put together the film?
Yeah, that's a great question, Justin. What surprised me were the little subtleties that you would find in doing your research. For example, the at Post Oak Boulevard and Westheimer, at that corner, there was a family that owned it. It was a farm at that time, and there was a young boy that loved the horses that was on that little farm and took care of the horse. And the individual that owned the horse, loved the horse so much, put the horse in the deed, the property deed, that if something happened to him, the land would go to the horse. Now, of course, you can't do that. And so what it was he actually made that young boy, deeded the land to the young boy because he knew how much that boy loved the horse, loved it as much as the original owner did, that he said, this land will be yours. You can sell it off in increments to take care of the horse. Once the horse has passed, then the rest of the land becomes yours. And that land was the land at the corner of Post Oak Boulevard and Westheimer. So that individual got one of the highest appraised pieces of parcel in the city of Houston just for loving a horse. And I thought that was a surprise and something interesting. So it wasn't just a story about wealthy people getting, established here and increasing wealth. There's all kinds of human interest stories that occurred. So you had that. I love the story of the Italian immigrants that came in and the truck farms that they had along Post Oak Boulevard. Great stories there. You had individuals that, like one of the Italian farmers, I hated this, but directly on Post Oak Boulevard, one of their grandchildren were busy playing and somehow started an accidental fire and burned his place down. And he had to sell part of his land in order to rebuild and have a place to live. And the person he sold the land to was a man named Gerald Hines. And for the next years and years and years, Gerald tried to buy the rest of that so he could have that entire parcel. And he finally did, and it became what is now the Hilton Hotel on Post Oak Boulevard.
Okay, Audrey, go ahead. So the film, it came out in June 2016. Can you talk about like over the last 6 years, I guess perhaps how Memorial Park is, that's mentioned.
Yes.
The bike, not the bike, the bus, and how those projects have developed, since the film.
VRT, the rebuild of Post Oak Boulevard, et cetera. Right. Justin, I don't know if you're able to, but I actually put together a very, very short little, like a PowerPoint presentation that has pictures that would show them what we've done, what we're going to do. Can you see that?
Yep. Two people and 2 dogs.
Two people with a dog. Okay. And I think the very important part about this is to say that they're two happy people. And not only that, the dog is happy. You have to be able to see that you've got a happy dog there as well. So everyone loves the Uptown area. Real quick, just to kind of let you know what we've done in the last 6 years and where we're going. We've got, let's see if we can do this. Okay, right now, it's not responding to my inputs. I'm gonna start over just and see what's going on here. I'm gonna give it one more shot. There we go. Do you see that?
Don't see that one.
Oh, don't see that one. How about now?
Yeah. Yeah.
See it now?
Yep.
Okay. There we go. Okay, good. We got it. So what I wanted to do is just show you real quick the history of the area. As far as the mission and purpose of this area, it's to serve as a catalyst, as you can read here, to create, preserve, and enhance value by developing. And this is what's important, because what people don't realize is this actually is what drives us in the Uptown area to create what we've created here. And that is by developing an urban community of uncommon beauty, gracious character, dynamic spirit. And that's what we have tried to do. And those are really the three phrases that push us and help us to stay on track as we try to continue to develop the beauty of the area and just the character of the area. It is a dynamic area. In the last 6 years, we have about $4 billion every year of retail sales. Everyone thinks of retail when they think of Uptown. Got lots of new retail that's come in. I don't know if you know Zadok Jewelers, you know, Jonathan Zadok. That's probably one of the most recent ones. Beautiful store, dining, lots of great restaurants have come in. You've got the rooftop cinema. If you haven't been there and you live in the area, you should go there. It's a lot of fun, especially now with the weather the way it is. And so you're there, you're in your own seat, own headphones, you're able to watch, they primarily show old movies, and the sun goes down, the lights come up in Uptown. It's just a great experience. The George Theater, which is where the 80 players present the plays that they play, fantastic. The McNairs gave $2 million to help start the fundraising to build this. It's built. And now there's just some terrific plays that show there. Office, the big office areas, people know. If we were in downtown Denver, if we were in Portland, if we were in St. Louis, we would be there downtown. We're that big. Again, some of the offices that have come on, the Zadoks are one of them. Hotels, lots of hotels in the area, lots of residential units in the area, as people know. Here's a new Aspire Post Oak. The Hallmark, which is more of a retirement area, beautiful. That is going to begin construction soon. 1661 Tanglewood, very high-end, beautiful condominiums. That the Mary Catherine Farrington Miller's family is going to be building. Here's another project that's coming in from Diesel Mosso. Lots of things going on as far as development. But what we've done, Post Oak Boulevard, the beauty of the boulevard, we widened those sidewalks to about 12 feet, brought in these proprietary pedestrian lights that not only light up the sidewalk where you're walking, but they're like a glow stick, a light stick that lights up the entire area to keep it very safe and keep it a beautiful pedestrian corridor to walk through or to ride through. I mean, if you want to ride your bikes, you can ride your bikes. We still have the big fireworks thing. I don't know if any of you have ever been to that, but that's a great event on Thanksgiving night that we have tens of thousands of people come out for. And we have these new Christmas trees that we have installed because the old ones wouldn't fit on the new boulevard. And these are spectacular when they're lit up. They just look fantastic. Memorial Park. I was just there this morning. Oh, just wait till this is finished. It's so close. But this is the land bridge with the Savannah and Prairie there on the south side, which is kind of to your leftish. It's just incredible. We moved all the sports complexes to the north side. We created, and Justin, you've been to Eastern Glades. I don't know if any of the other viewers have, but this 100 acres, which is just spectacular, and this lake. And the dirt that we dug for the lake, we used to build the land bridge, to put on top of that land bridge. And in about 2 months, that's going to be open to the public. And it is indeed just spectacular. The vista there is amazing. And these are just some pictures to show you kind of what that looks like. That's all being grassed now as far as mulching and whatnot. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful area. I wish you could have been with me this morning on top of the land bridge. What you're looking at right here is an area that people will be able to go to have events and whatnot on top of the land bridge. And the views from there are incredible. Driving through, Houston's still trying to get used to the fact that they can actually drive through a tunnel. And I hear lots of cars driving through that still honk their horn because they think it's a lot of fun. This is what it's going to look like when it's finally established. It's going to be beautiful. The prairie I was talking about, you just got some, it's just not quite there yet. The running trail, we moved off of Memorial Drive and now it's inside the park itself, and you're running over these beautiful bridges, as you can see, or walking. Complex here where you can park or you can go eat at one of the restaurants that's going to be there. That is being built right now as we speak. Lots of trails that are going to be going through the park to enable you to access the whole thing. What we did when we were designing this is the master plan, you just couldn't access Memorial Park. And so what the master plan has done is stitched it back together and allowed you to access all of it. It's 1,500 acres. It's twice the size of Central Park, but you couldn't access it, and now you can. We're bringing back the rings. If you're familiar, those stainless steel rings, we had to redesign them. Here's the new redesign. Those will start to be installed at the beginning of the year. Another beautiful, just kind of a beautiful jewel that will be in the Uptown area. We're going to redo Hidalgo Park, all those enhancements there, water and lighting design features. And this is something we're very proud of. Martin Dubrovner, just a wonderful quality individual who was our chairman for years and years and years. There's a small pocket park on San Felipe near Poso Boulevard that we're redesigning and redoing. And it is now officially named Martin Dubrovner Park. And that is I just finalized the letter of agreement to allow access to be able to do the construction of that. And so that construction will begin here in the next month or two. And then the final thing is we're going to be building a trail that you can walk on or ride your bike on to take you from the Uptown area across Buffalo Bayou, underneath the 16 West Loop into Memorial Park. And so you'll be able to walk or ride your bike if you live in the Uptown area into Memorial Park without having to interact with traffic. So it's really going to be nice. Another quick thing that we're doing, if you live in the area that you might want to know, is we are installing security cameras that surround the Uptown area so that Houston Police Department know when vehicles of interest come into the area and they can respond accordingly. And that is it. So
that's a lot of stuff. They keep you busy over there.
You know what? We stay busy, but it's a good busy. It's a good busy.
How do like the I think someone's here. The the new projects you just shared, like how do those are those just kind of stuff you bring, how do they come up?
Okay, well, Uptown is I have to get a little technical, but not much. Uptown is what's called a TERS and a district. And the TERS means that part of the property tax revenue that comes in, we're actually able to utilize to do things in the area. And then for the district, it's actually an extra tax that we do, that we also are able to use to do special things in the area. And so these projects come up as we look at the area. We are a management district. We're responsible to hopefully create that beauty and that gracious character and all that. And so my elevator pitch is with those funds, what we do is we build, brand, and beautify. And so when we look around the area, like for example, looking at Memorial Park, we saw back in 2012, 2013, it had been devastated with drought, pestilence, etc. And the city didn't really have general funds to do anything with that. And so we went to the city and said, if you expanded our boundaries and put Memorial Park in that, we would be able to do something in that. And so the city did so. And we started the whole master plan for Memorial Park. And that's when philanthropists began to notice and became very interested in it. And so there has been millions of private donations that have been given to help make it happen. So that's how Memorial Park happened. Post Oak Boulevard, it's been in the process for years to widen it and create a beautiful destination boulevard. And it just reached a point that we were able to do it. So we did that as well. And then we just try, we try to keep the place looking nice. Is what we do.
Is there, there's different parts of Memorial, Post Oak Boulevard, Uptown, there's retail, there's office,
Right.
there's business is, and this might have been mentioned in the film, but what's the biggest percentage, and is one area kind of growing? Like, it seems like there's a lot more, like the Hawthorne, there's a lot more, high
Right.
rise going up.
Like
So what's growing, I guess?
So that's a great question, because starting actually kind of started in the late 90s, but let's just look at the last 5 to 7 years. In the last 5 to 7 years, all the new development that's come on, let's say last 10 years, the new development that's come in, about 65% of it has been residential.
Okay.
And then office, retail, hotel make up the other 35%. So basically you're looking at 10% of each one of those, and 65%, 70% is residential. And as we look at the continuing development of the area, it's all residential. So basically you could say 70% is residential, and office, retail, and hotel make up the other 30%. So that has been the biggest growth area and continues to be. People like to live in the area.
Yeah, it said in the movie, right? There was no residential, the start, it was farmland. And stuff like that.
Exactly. Yeah. It was retail. Started off, retail was big, the Galleria. And that became so successful that then offices started to build. And about that time, then, hotels started to build. And then a little bit later, people said, hey, that'd be a nice place to live. And residential started to be built.
As far as the residential aspect, do people of all ages, live in the gallery? Is it more
Yeah.
like young adult? I mean, is it kind of everyone?
You'd be surprised. It's kind of the barbell, as you may have heard. So lots of young people, lots of older people, kind of in the middle, not as many, but that's kind of the demographics anyway. But yeah, we are a lot younger than you would think. If you came into the area, you would see, and if to read the demographic reports, which I do, it would amaze you that our median age for the area is in the high 30s. So that's a little surprising to a lot of people.
Are there other, like, as you always, come up with new ideas of what to do, are there other areas around the United States that you kind of look at, to almost to model after? What are, oh, that's a good idea, maybe we should consider that, in other areas of the United States that kind of could be good ideas to consider?
A little tongue in cheek, let me say, we try to be the people that other people come into the area to try to model. So, for example, we have.
Has that happened? Does that happen to people like,
yeah. I was interviewed a month ago by Atlanta. We have the mayor of Phoenix, city council members, et cetera, coming in about 3 weeks. The mayor of Phoenix is coming here. So yeah, it has happened, and it continues to happen. But having said that was a little tongue in cheek about saying that. Yeah, we would. So we look at Atlanta, we look at Buckhead, we would look in Phoenix area. We look at metropolitan areas, primarily urban areas that we feel like have distinguished themselves as areas of high value and quality, and try to look at those and see what is it that we can learn from them, and go ahead and implement here as well. But you know, without saying too much, our board, John Breeding, who's headed this up for the last 35 years, they've done an outstanding job of setting a vision here and then making that happen.
Does anyone have a question for Bob? Feel free to jump in. I'm sure I can come up with some more.
And you know, I mean, this can go on, or if everyone's like,
I got to fill the time because, you know, we thought we were watching the movies. So we have this. No, I'm just kidding. Audrey, do you have a question? Or hold on, let me just, Audrey, I just asked you to unmute so you can. Audrey, you have to unmute there.
If there's no question, you know, something else I could say is this, that I enjoy so much doing the history and the interviewing and all that stuff that many of you just saw on this movie. One of the funnest things was to actually spend time with the Italian community and with the families whose families were the truck farmers out here. I even traveled to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Ready for this? I didn't even know. That connection didn't come to my mind until just now. But there was an Italian family who was very prominent in the area. And part of that family member is now living in the Tulsa area. And I traveled there to interview him. And he was the one that actually had, there's that, you may not remember it, but that handwritten map that you saw in the documentary was the one that he did. And he did it from memory, letting us know where all the families lived and who all the families were. And it was just a delight to see the memories that these families had of this community that they had created out here, because, you ready for this? When they came here, this was where the cheap land was. And so they decided to come here. Here's another kind of interesting story that you may not know. The very first person that bought land out here, that actually he didn't buy it, it was deeded to him, was William White. And that was in the documentary. But here's what's fascinating about William White. William White's mother, Amy White, was one of Stephen F. Austin's original 300 colonists. I believe that was in the documentary. But what you don't know is, so this young man named William White, who was the first owner of the land that became Uptown, got married, went back to the General Land Office, and because he was married, he was actually given even more land for being a part of the Revolutionary War that created the state of Texas and defeated Santa Anna, etc. He got even more land, and he went up to a place that's now called the Woodlands, and that became his land. So he was the first owner of the land that became Uptown, first owner of the land that became the Woodlands, and he died an indigent. He died poor, because it's not just about location, it's about timing. And back then, the Woodlands just wasn't the Woodlands yet. And so it's a fascinating story in history. There's so much more that we could discuss on that. But that's William White. So if you do any surveying work, or you've seen survey work, and you see William White Surveys, that's not the name of the company doing the survey. That's the name of the first original owner of the land of Uptown. And his name was William White.
Audrey, you have a question?
Yes, I finally have figured out I needed to unmute. Sorry about that. I just wanted to compliment you. I have been in community development, and what you are doing is a perfect example of public-private partnership to me.
Oh.
And now, I used to do it, but I've recognized that they're doing conferences on it now, the TML. And I just wonder if you've connected with them, if they know about this. This is fantastic. Your story is wonderful.
I don't know that we have.
Well, I wish you would. Or,
we have
I'm
been
old.
recognized. Oh, I'm sorry. And thank you for that compliment. I appreciate it very much.
it's just amazing. I'm blown away by it.
Well,
It's a fascinating story.
thank you for that.
And you are, it sounds to me like you are the pioneer in this. And you're leading the way. And I'm just so glad I got to listen to this. I'm elderly. I'm 90, but I see what a fantastic job you all have done.
well, thank
I'm
you.
so amazed.
Let me say this. First, you don't look 90, number one. And number two, I was just telling Justin this right before all this started. I just came back last week from a big celebration of my dad's 90th birthday.
Oh, well, then you can relate to me.
Totally. I totally relate to you.
Well, let me ask you a question that's bothered me. I'm a thinker and I'm not a doer anymore. I
Sure.
know that. But with the changes that I see in retailing, how are you addressing that, or are you? Are you just
Okay.
making your own path?
So as far as retailing is concerned, Uptown Management District, we're responsible for the public right of ways. So we deal with roads and sidewalks and all that kind of stuff, public parks, Memorial Park, things of this nature. So we are not involved directly with retail. Okay. Having said that, we work with retailers, for example, the Galleria.
Sure.
And Simon, Galleria Irma Castor's on our board. So we are, and others, Eden's, Tom Kyler, others. So we are very much in tune with what's going on with retail for our area. Okay, now I'm just speaking for our area. What we've found is, big box retailers they're just not being built anymore. You don't need that space in the back for the inventory because of the whole supply chain, the way they take care of that. Right now, there's kind of a kink in the supply chain, but still, you don't warehouse or house your own inventory in the back of your store much anymore. So the space for retail doesn't have to be the same. So we don't see a lot of further growth of actual retail square footage space. What we see is the quality of retail that is in the area and continues to come into the area because of the higher class shopping needs of those that have higher incomes, higher average incomes. The biggest thing that we're working on right now for retail is this flock security camera system. So the biggest thing for retailers is retailers want people to know they're safe to come to the area and to shop and spend and enjoy, that entertainment. This flock security system, we're going to geofence, if you would, surround it almost like a digital fence, if you would, the Uptown area with these cameras that are what are called the ALPRs. They're automatic license plate readers. That's all they are. They're not facial recognition. They're none of that stuff. They simply take pictures of the license plates, and it accesses a national database to see if that is a vehicle of interest. If it is, then that goes directly to HPD, and then they are able to respond accordingly and quickly to that particular vehicle. And I will tell you, it has made a significant difference in several residential areas around Houston, as well as around the nation for that matter. So this actually is kind of the biggest that they've done so far, the Uptown area, to geofence this whole area to let the retailers, residential people, all those know that they're safe here. And if there is a vehicle of interest, a lot of times that means there's a person of interest, and they are able to, as I said, respond accordingly. When they were, just to give you an example, just a quick story, when they were in our boardroom and presenting their product, the officer from HPD that is the liaison for this program was in there, and he was telling us how it worked, and all of a sudden his phone went off, and he said, "Look, here's how it works." And so he showed us his phone, and he says, it just shows me that we've had a vehicle of interest come into the Galleria parking garage, the red garage. And so we're going to have officers respond to that. In literally 5 minutes, there were officers there and responded to that. And sure enough, there was a person of interest in that vehicle of interest. And they were able to then do what they needed to do in order to respond to that need. So it's great. And that's what's going to help retail. People know the area, obviously, Galleria for retail. And so we're doing what we can in the public space to keep it beautiful and safe. And then the private owners are doing the same thing in their own private space. So that's kind of the story of retail. And a lot of those stores, as you probably know, they've created their own online presence.
Oh, of course.
And so, people can shop online from then. And so they know what they're doing.
The best of both worlds, really.
It's really the best of both worlds. So that's what's happening from the public side, what we're trying to do to help retail.
Well,
Paul, do you have a question? Oh, sorry. Good, Audrey, I'm sorry.
Yes.
No, I just wanted to thank him for that explanation. I really loved it, and I hope that you will get in touch with the Texas Municipal League in some way, because it's just a wonderful story.
We love sharing it. If there are people that are interested, we love to share it. So
I have not heard about it.
I'll tell you what. Do you know anyone in the TML?
I just asked for the executive director.
Okay.
Go straight there, and I'm sure they have a president of their board, which someone from Houston could possibly be on it.
Sure.
I always made it my business to know what they were doing.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I will check into that.
I was on their board, but that's been so long ago. Things are so different.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, my dad worked for American Airlines for 35 years, and it's American Airlines totally different than it was when he left. So things do change.
They have to.
Audrey, I'm going to tell Audrey's the former mayor of Marshall, right? Texas.
From the big city.
Right. So
from the big
city. Well, it was a small city, but I had big ideas, and I was very active in the municipal league.
No kidding.
And it's just a wonderful organization for large and small cities.
Audrey, would you mind if I had your last name and dropped it?
Oh, certainly. It's Kariel, and I worked in Marshall's City Council for the decade of 1991 to 2001, and was on the municipal board. The TML, it was so different then. We didn't have computers; they were just getting started. So I'm really a has-been, but I just admire your story, and it just gave me a thrill to see it, and I wanted you to know it. Thank you so much.
I wouldn't say you're has-been. I say you were has-done.
Oh, yes. I've still got my hand in it, and it's hard to stop thinking about it. And I just found out that Marshall's gonna have one of its older buildings made into a boutique hotel, and I wish I could go in and stay there.
Oh.
I'm in Dallas now, so I'm watching Dallas too. Yes.
Very good.
But congratulations.
Thank you.
I have a deep interest in Houston. My family lives there.
Oh, very good. So you're rooting for the Astros?
I certainly am.
Excellent. Excellent.
Anyway, yours is a wonderful story. You've made my day.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind of you.
Paul, do you have a question?
Yeah, Bob. Hello, Bob.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, Paul.
Hi, this is Paul Katz speaking. I'm interested in what's being planned for it would be the northeast corner of Post Oak and Westheimer.
Okay, so the northeast corner corner of Post Oak and Westheimer where the container store is, gallery furniture.
Right.
Right. So that land was actually used to be owned by our chairman, Kendall Miller, and of course his mother, Mary Catherine Farrington Miller. And they sold about, oh boy, this whole COVID thing has messed up my calendar. They sold it about 4 years ago. And as of right now, the corporation that purchased it is just kind of sitting on it. Although we expect it one day to become more vertical and become more of a mixed-use area, because it's right now, all of these 1-2-story assets that are along the boulevard are underperforming assets. And the time will come when that time is right that these individuals who own those will definitely be redeveloping them. So as of right now, there are no plans, but there will be plans for the future when that economic time is right.
Well, there, I mean, I know that Houston doesn't have any zoning restrictions, but in that particular Post Oak area, is there any requirements regarding building, building compliance as far as the height of buildings and so forth?
There probably a couple ways to answer that. Sometimes, as far as height restrictions, it may be that an individual sells land, a part of his parcel or her parcel that says, I want to say this particular section, you can build what you want on it, except there's going to be a certain height restriction. And the reason why is because I want to build something taller behind you. And so there may be some of those types of height restrictions that are in these personal cells. The other quote unquote zoning stuff is mainly through the permitting processes, as far as having to comply to Houston City's permitting things. Like, for example, Post Oak Boulevard is a transit-oriented development area. And so there's certain requirements for setbacks from the property, from the boulevard, and certain requirements for the amount of parking space you have to enable for the particular type of project you're building. So there's certain things like that are kind of a restriction. But as far as an actual true zoning restriction, there isn't. The best thing that really is a quote unquote restriction is more the economic restriction. The cost of land here. Any individual that comes in, or corporation or company that comes in here, buys land to be able to do something, has to do something spectacular, basically, because of the cost of the land, and be able to make those numbers work, pencil those numbers.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Judy?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. One was, I understand that the funds for a lot of the things that are being done are a combination of a public and private funds. I wondered what percentage was public, what percentage was private? And then on the issue of permits, do any of the permits require any kind of studies on what new building would do to possible flooding?
I'll answer the second question first. The answer is yes. We don't do the permitting. We don't have the authority. We're not the authority on that. The city of Houston is. And so all permitting goes through the city of Houston. And yes, they definitely, the restrictions are even tighter now as far as how they have to build and how they have to determine how it's going to impact flooding issues. When we built Post Oak Boulevard, by the way, we widened it. So it's built in such a way that it's a bigger detention area, if you will, for those really high rain events, so that water doesn't go into the private properties, but it stays in the boulevard, if you would. What people don't realize is we spent more money on what you don't see than what you do see, because we totally redid the infrastructure underneath. totally. It was old, it was deteriorating, it was under capacity. And so we increased its capacity. We increased the inlets for that sheet flow to go into, to get off the street. We did everything that we could in that area to help with stormwater management. So to answer your second question, yes. The first question is the percentage is about a 50-50. It's about 50-50. It has been remarkable. Of course, Nancy and Rich Kinder with the Kinder Foundation came in with $70 million. Clay family came in with 10. The Wolf Foundation came in with another 10 million to help establish that Savannah Prairie. You have other individuals giving $1 million, $2 million, you know, and others that are giving smaller amounts, but still are important to the continuing maintenance of this project. So public funds, private funds, it's about a 50-50 split.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Does anyone else have a question? All right, well, really want to thank Bob for being with us today to kind of, you know, provide some follow-up to the great film we watched on the Post Oak Boulevard, Texas Legacy. Thanks to everyone as well for participating.
And thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah,
You guys-
no,
you guys are wonderful. And so glad that you enjoyed that documentary.
when's your next one? When's your next movie? Any other?
Oh,
No, no. Okay.
it's gonna be a while.
Well, thanks again, everyone. Have a good afternoon, and we'll see you all soon.
All right. Thank you all.